What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another discussion video. Today we've got two topics of discussion, and that is Persona 5 Strikers. Has Atlus finally figured out that multi-platform is the way? And also Monster Hunter Rise, 6 million units. How many other developers are looking at what Capcom did and saying, wow, that could have been us? So let's talk about Persona first, because this is a little bit of a follow-up to the video that I did not too long ago discussing how Sega and other Japanese developers did make a mistake underestimating the Nintendo Switch years ago and not planning their bigger projects or bigger engines or efforts towards the system, and it's paying off for Capcom, which we'll discuss those crazy sales numbers that they have with Monster Hunter Rise. But let's first start off with Persona 5 Strikers. Sega, Atlus, what's going on there, and how multi-platform they're figuring this thing out. So recently, Atlus and Sega announced the sales numbers for Persona 5 Strikers across the PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, and also PC via Steam. And it was at 1.3 million units worldwide. That is the fourth best Persona game of all time when it comes to sales. Think about that. The game has only been out for a little bit over a year when it comes to when it launched in Japan, which was 2020, and then its February launch in 2021 here in the West. So not too much over 1 year, and it's already topped 1.3 million and shot up the Persona leaderboards. And that is not the normal type of Persona game that people usually look forward to, right? It's a blend of an action RPG with a little bit of Muso in there, with some Persona in there and elements, right? Kind of has a little bit of everything, making it a new style of action game for the Persona series, and people really liked it. 1.3 million for that style of game that isn't the next Persona game is very good. That's outsold of some of the mainline Persona games out there. So why has it done that? What's going on with it? Well, Sega's figuring things out. Yes, a lot of your base is based off of PlayStation because you've only made the games when it comes to Persona predominantly on PlayStation, with very few games outside of the PlayStation ecosystem. But if you can get more people into your ecosystem when it comes to Persona, you can sell more copies, even if it's a game that's not the next mainline 6, like Persona 6, or the next mainline Persona game. You can still get lots of people to purchase your game. And it doesn't even matter what the splits are. When it comes to the game, if you can get it efficiently made for multiple platforms, you're going to make a lot of money. And they're very happy about the sales. Otherwise, they wouldn't have announced, hey, we've hit 1.3 million. Now, we're getting lots of sales numbers from companies out there, revenues and stuff like that. Nintendo has theirs set for, I think, like May 6th or May 9th, something like that. I know it's going to be early May when Nintendo is going to be announcing theirs, and we're going to see some sales numbers for a lot of different games, but you want to see that, right? I mean, it's a capitalistic business at the end of the day, and I think that there's a lot of Persona fans out there that try to trivialize this as some type of tribalism, and it needs to be PlayStation because it's been on PlayStation, and that's not necessarily it. It needs to make money. It needs to grow the franchise. It needs to do better. It doesn't need to suit what you want it to suit. And I've been this way with all of Atlus's games. Like, even with Shin Megami Tensei 5, I mean, if that's exclusive to Nintendo Switch for the lifetime, okay, that's fine if they want to do that. But it'd probably be better off if they actually make multi-platform games, especially if the parent companies of these exclusives that are just there aren't paying you anything, or maybe just giving you some like marketing space or pushing it a bit more to the audience. Okay, that's maybe something. But if they're not paying you millions upon millions of dollars like Square Enix gets from, like, let's say example Sony for Final Fantasy 16, then there is absolutely zero reason to hold it to only one platform and significantly lower the amount of people that you can be selling your game to. Like I said, unless there is somebody that is paying you for that exclusive, it doesn't make any sense at all. At this point, Sega, they talked about this, I think last year or so, about multi-platform development and how they're going to focus on that more. And if you look at a lot of their games are doing okay when it comes to Sega, but they're not doing as good as they should be doing based on the franchises and what they have, just because you're not going to hit every single person that owns that system. The video game industry, and let's just say larger entertainment industry, has insane competition for your time. There are streaming services, there are animes, there are TV shows, there are just so many different things. Movies, theaters are opening back up. There's different systems. You've got Game Pass, you've got Nintendo Switch, you've got PlayStation. There are so many ways to consume entertainment these days, but there's only a finite amount of time that people can do that, right? So in order to really get your reach and what you need to do to maximize your sales for your shareholders and what you're doing, you have to be able to make that game available. If you are a third-party developer, not getting paid millions, right, in order for your work, not getting paid millions to keep it on one type of platform, you have to extend your reach just a bit, and they're figuring this out, right? Persona 4 Golden coming over to Steam. That sold 500,000 copies really quickly. And then also now Persona 5 Strikers, that sold over 1.3 million units very quickly, as well as a more of a side game. Yes, it's mainline when it comes to the story and stuff, but as more of a side game, an extension to Persona 5. So to me, that is clear as day that now Sega understands that Persona 5, Persona just in general, must go multi-platform. And now we're also hearing that there's rumors that there could be Persona 5 or Persona 5 Royal on Game Pass. So they could be getting a little bit of a bag for that, which that would absolutely squash all of the rumors or people saying that Persona 5 is exclusive to Sony till the end of time, which that would open things up for a Persona 5 or Persona 5 Royal on the Nintendo Switch or on a Nintendo hybrid platform down the line. So that's my line of thinking. That's my thought process when I see this. I think Atlus, more so than anybody, definitely needs to get on that. And these sales with Persona 5 Strikers kind of proves it. I think it proves it 100% that they will be going forward with multi-platform development because they're seeing how many more copies they can sell. Like I said, it doesn't matter about the split, even if it was 900,000 on the PlayStation 4 and 300,000 on the Nintendo Switch and 100,000 here on Steam or whatever the case is, or if it's 400,000 on Switch or whatever, it doesn't matter. You have to times that times all of those hundreds of thousands of copies and then look at how much revenue extra they're making that they probably wouldn't have gotten if it was only on one platform, because you're extending your reach to hundreds of millions of more consumers, right? When you combine the Nintendo Switch sales numbers with PC via Steam, and if you add in Xbox later down the line, you're adding so many more potential customers for your reach. So it makes perfect sense to me, and I think that we're going to see that a lot more going forward. I think this proves it here. Now let's talk about Monster Hunter. So Monster Hunter has crossed 6 million units worldwide in about a month. This is by far the most successful core third-party game on a Nintendo platform in a very long time. I can't think of the last core Nintendo game on a Nintendo platform from a third party that has done this well. Now, we've had some other games, right? There's been some stuff that's came out that's done pretty well. We've had Dragon Quest, we've had some other games, and I'm talking core game. I'm not talking like Just Dance or something like Minecraft. Even though core gamers can play those games, I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about a game that is built for the Nintendo Switch, third party title, Nintendo fans in mind. It's been a while, right? It's been a minute, and Monster Hunter Rise is proving once again that more third-party developers definitely should have looked at the Switch more seriously earlier down the line, because contrary to popular belief, you can't just manifest the game in a year or two when it comes to major titles. You need time. You need, as in multiple years, 3 years, 4 years, sometimes even more. And Capcom planned on that when they saw those huge, insane sales. And even before then, I think Capcom planned on it because they were the ones that asked Nintendo to increase the RAM and power of the system so they can get their things going, because they already foresaw that the Nintendo Switch would be a hit at the minimum in Japan because of the hybrid nature of the system. And they started planning the RE engine for the Nintendo Switch. They started planning Monster Hunter Rise, Monster Hunter Stories 2. A lot of these games went into planning years and years ago before the Switch install base was even exploded up until this point. Now, of course, seeing the Nintendo Switch sell 80 million units plus is the cherry on top, and they know that they have a healthy and big install base to sell their game to. But there has to be multiple other third-party developers that are thinking, man, if I did that, or at least Japanese developers, if I did that with some of these games here and we planned for it, we'd be in this position to where we could sell 4 million, 5 million, 6 million units on our big game, or what we can do, because there are other games out there that are just as good as Monster Hunter Rise when it comes to what the developers put in, the effort and all of that. But you see what they did with the Switch. You see how they focused on it and they marketed to the strength of what Nintendo fans want. And look at what you got here, which many third-party developers have, right? We're looking at companies like Bandai Namco, which they already admitted that, you know what, oh man, we were kind of slow to it. And it's cost them, I think, at this point. I think that's really cost them when it comes to what they could be doing, because their Japanese sales are a bit down. They did have to delay a bunch of games like Scarlet Nexus and Tales of Arise, but those games, I think, in my opinion, based on what we're seeing with Monster Hunter Rise and some other third-party games like Dragon Quest XI, which was custom built for the Switch, by the way, you're gonna miss out on a lot of potential sales by not having those games on the system. So I think Bandai Namco's probably thinking, man, we kind of messed up there, even though we work with Nintendo quite a bit with their games. Maybe we're a little bit too focused on doing a great job with that and didn't focus on what the system could do going forward. I mean, Sega obviously is in that camp as well with Persona and with other franchises that they do have, Sakura Wars or stuff like that, right? So there are a number of developers that are in that same boat, but I do think that it's going to naturally correct itself. We have Falcom that is completely on board. There's also companies like Nippon Ichi Software that works with Falcom. Obviously, Capcom is doing some great stuff as well. Square Enix has some great stuff coming for the Nintendo Switch, and there's going to be some announcements coming up at E3 too. So a lot of these companies are kind of catching on, but with the lifespan of these systems, you kind of have to get on board at the beginning and think about it before, because you're not going to get that time necessarily at the end, right? So now if you just start to come onto the Switch right now, it's already midway past the generation and everything. You had to have known and planned it beforehand, but a lot of developers just didn't trust what was going to go on based on the slow start of the Nintendo 3DS and also based off of the failure of the Wii U. But there were some companies that kind of hopped on. Once again, we do have some things, but I do think that will change going forward, and that's why I think the next Nintendo Switch system, or the Nintendo Switch Pro, or Nintendo Switch 2, or whatever the case is definitely going to start out with a bang. Probably the next generation Switch, because a lot of these third-party developers, especially the Japanese ones, aren't going to sit there and say, okay, we're going to wait back. They know that this concept works. They know that Nintendo has a line of marketing and a system with a gimmick that actually is going to sell, because it sells itself as a HD console portable hybrid type of thing. So it makes sense going forward. So we will see those companies kind of hop in, and we'll see a lot of these games that don't come over at this point, like a Tales of Arise or a Scarlet Nexus, probably be ported over to the next Nintendo system, whatever they decide to do, whether it's a Switch Pro or whether it's a Nintendo Switch 2. So I do think that they will correct those mistakes and then start out strong next time going forward, because they won't have to worry about a potential failure or slow start like we got with Nintendo's two previous systems. So what are your thoughts on this, guys, when it comes to Monster Hunter Rise's amazing 6 million units in sales, which is just absolutely crazy, and it's good to see. I'm so happy that people are out there supporting it, and it pretty much dispels that myth that Nintendo fans won't buy third-party games. That's pretty much gone at this point, because Monster Hunter Rise is killing it. It's even pacing with what Monster Hunter World did on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. So obviously Nintendo fans will buy those third-party games if they're there and if they're good. So what do you guys think about that? And also, what do you think about Persona and what's going on? You think multi-platform is going forward with Atlus and Sega? I do think so, especially after those strong sales numbers for Persona 5 Strikers. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Check out the links in the description. We've got Twitter. Go and give us a follow on there. Stay up to date on all the latest gaming news and information. Also, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video if you can. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.